Hello everyone, welcome to Southern Wreaths. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Today I'm going to show you how I made this really pretty sunflower wreath. These are the supplies I used to make this wreath. This wreath's a little bit different because I'm using 3 different sunflowers. I just used whatever I had left over from other projects that I made. I'm going to start by adding a bow, and I'm just holding it up to the grapevine wreath to see how far out I want it to come. I ended up wanting 6-inch loops on each side. I'm using my Bodabra just to make my life easier. And I am twisting as I go. It's probably not necessary with this type of ribbon. It's just a habit. I'm going to make sure that each loop is the same length on each side. You can either hold it up to each other to measure it, or you can just measure with a mat, your mat or a ruler. And I am twisting away from myself each time I make a loop. And this ribbon's really neat. It's kind of like mesh, but it's jute twine. I thought it was perfect for this. I like the different texture. So I did 3 loops on each side of the netting ribbon, I guess that's what you would call it. That way when I'm putting my this really pretty sunflower ribbon on top, I can see where I want to add loops for that particular ribbon. I am doing it slightly smaller, probably at about 5.5 inches. And again, I'm twisting away from myself. I decided on this wreath to not add tails to my bow, but you could always add tails. Sometimes I want to, sometimes I don't. It just depends on the look I'm going for. Now here I'll show you another way you can measure it. It's just hold it up on either side and you can see exactly if it matches or not. And I'm going to do 3, I believe, on each side of this one as well. And I kind of put them where I want them to be as I'm going through, so I have an idea of how many loops to add, depending on the look I'm going for. Once I'm done adding ribbon, I'm going to use my zip tie. I slide it under the bottom, and then I pull it just enough to lift everything out without it coming apart. And then I position it straight in the middle. You'll kind of know where to put it because there's like a crease there. And I slide my pipe cleaner in before I tighten it. After I tighten the zip tie and trim it away, I like to hold on to the bow by holding onto the pipe cleaners, and then I just stick my hands in each loop and spread my fingers out as I'm positioning the loop where I want it to be. And you'll take a while to do this. Like, you'll keep messing with it until you're happy with the way it looks, and even then you'll still mess with it once it's on the wreath. It's one of those things you never really stop doing. I decided to wrap it around the grapevine wreath instead of feeding it through, just because I wasn't sure exactly which direction I wanted the bow to face, and go through quickly and cut up all my greenery. And then I'm kind of positioning it, or I'm sorry, sectioning it off into piles. And I used whatever I had left over. I just had random pieces of greenery that I thought the colors went well with what I had. But as you can see, I put a lot of hot glue on the end of it, kind of all the way around, so that when I stick it into the grapevine, it stays. And a lot of times I'll hold it there first just to see if that's where I want to place it, and then I'll add the hot glue. And then after you get it in, you can always adjust your stuff that has wire in it. See, like there, I'm kind of turning it. I didn't want it all the way in, but I didn't want it sticking straight out like it was, so I just kind of turned it until I was happy with the way it looked. I'm using Gorilla Glue hot glue sticks. You don't have to. I just find that they hold a lot better. And I'm kind of balancing it on either side. Sometimes I'll make my wreaths where like one side has more than the other, but with this particular wreath I thought it would be nice to have it as balanced as possible, the same amount on the bottom as the top. Now I'm going to show you a trick that I'm going to do with this really large sunflower. It wasn't long enough, and I wasn't happy with the length of the stem because I wanted it to stick up further off of my wreath than what it would do if I stuck that down. It didn't have a hollow point at the end like most flowers do, so I couldn't stick it into the hole. So I just cut a piece off of one of the other sunflowers because I'm not going to use that much of a stem, and I'm wrapping it around the base of it and using my pliers to get it really tight. That didn't really hold it super well, so then I will go in with a zip tie. I think I ended up using 2, but I just wrap it around it and pull it as tightly as I possibly can with the zip tie. And then I did dab some hot glue on it. Then it'll work just fine. I really wanted to make sure that sunflower was up the same height as my bow, so I really wanted it to be up higher. I probably could have done several different ways to do this, but this is just the way I came up with on the spot. But there you can see how I added the zip tie to it, and I ended up with 2 and then some hot glue, and I'll let it dry. And now I can stick it in there and it stays up really high. I do go through and secure it to the greenery later. I use some extra hot glue. And now I'm just going to finish cutting up my flowers. I do like to keep the leaves on them, so I just push them up to the top where the flower is and trim them away. And now I'm just going to start adding them. If anyone's interested in following me on social media, you can find me on Instagram at Southern Wreaths More, on Facebook at Southern Wreaths, and I also have a Facebook group called Southern Wreaths and More. I would love to see any of the wreaths you've made, especially if you do any based on my videos. That would be amazing. I also have all of these links in the description below. I tried to keep in mind as I was trimming the flowers that I wanted to keep 3 to 4 inches on the stem. You can see there I had it folded just to see if I wanted it down further, and I wasn't happy with that, so I just straightened it back out. That's the great part about having wired flowers, because you can manipulate them and put them any way you want. Even the direction that the sunflower is facing, once you get it in there, you can kind of turn the end of it and it can be facing any way you want it to. So I would definitely keep that in mind when you're buying flowers. You want something with a wire stem. Most flowers come with that, but like that big giant sunflower, it had a different kind of stem. I'm not sure what kind it was. And as I was adding some of these flowers, I decided to glue them to the big sunflower, and that just kind of lifts them up off of the grapevine wreath without it having to have a long stem. And like some of these vines, I kind of wrapped around the flowers. I just add things until I'm happy with the way it looks, and then a lot of times I'll hang it up and then see if I see any holes or anything. See here, I decided to cut more and add them here and there. At the end, you will see that I go through and add into the bow, but you can do that as you go through if you want. After I add each individual piece, like all of one kind of thing, I will go back through and fill in with other things. A lot of the time I will go hang it up and step back and look at it and see if there's anywhere that I want to add more stuff, because you'll see holes that you don't see anywhere else. And I like to fill in around the bow, especially because if someone has a door and they're opening and closing it, you'll be able to see. I am cutting out tiny pieces and sticking them in the bow because I didn't want really large pieces. And with the vines, I kind of wrap them around the flowers. And now I'm just going through and making sure everything's balanced, and then I have stuff on the ends and around the sides. And I'll just keep adding things and trying to make them as balanced on the same, if I do something on the left, I do it on the right. And then I'll just go through and fluff my bow again. Make sure everything's where I want it to be, and that's it. That's how I made my sunflower grapevine wreath. This wreath is amazing for summer. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, or you can email me at craftingwithlee@yahoo.com. Thanks so much for watching, and if y'all learned anything today, or if you like my video, please like, share, and subscribe, and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.